gotta say, the New Zealand system is so criminal. I just can't accept it. But I don't know what the solution is unless the International Criminal Court come to save us. Um, the Court of Appeal, and I'm struggling to think and talk right now because I'm under systematic attack by EMF weapons. I go outside and I'm followed immediately and I'm shot in the head with electricity jolts. It's not funny. But my head is like for the last month, and it's really increased in the last month. The targeting. Anyway, because I'm doing these cases, it's just unbelievable. So I literally have to do my work with a swollen brain because I mean, I feel like I'm being killed, but that's the choice I made to do these cases. So, there's nothing I can do. But anyway, it's so debilitating. Anyway, I had applications to the Court of Appeal for the last 2 weeks. They've been seriously messed around. It's just a joke. They pretend couriers don't turn up. They delay for a week to just give an order that is something like you need to give a physical version, not an electronic version. I mean, it's just a joke. So finally the court, it was with the judge yesterday and accepted for appeal. But there's no point to have an appeal unless the injunction order is given to protect the population. Well, the Hanua drop is happening tomorrow, the poisoning. So I've just written, just so that you know, Winston Peters, Andrew Little, two parts of this government who are committing this crime. I've written to the Court of Appeal. I've written to the Solicitor General who defends Ardern, the Queen, and Reddy on this crime. Governor Reddy, the Queen, who has been arguably inflicting this since 1953, prior to probably trying to kill me with EMF attacks. And Ardern, unless it's her, because it's fucking one of them. It's just unbelievable. I can't prove it. All I can tell you is that planes fly past me constantly outside my window, and if I leave the house, which is fairly rare these days, but if I leave the house and I get shot with bolts of electricity, it swells my brain and I'm bruised for weeks. My brain, like my temples. I'm like, it's absolutely unbearable. I've never experienced anything like it in my life. I'm being lobotomized. Anyway, I continue to do these cases because everyone's going to die of poisoning if I am not successful. So, we'll see what happens. But so I've just written to them all because it's clear that they have totally abused their power to delay these orders for the last 2 weeks, so that we will have the Hanua Rangers attacked tomorrow with monofluoacetate 1080. It's one of the world's most lethal chemical weapons. I mean, this all ahead before Ardern, ahead of Ardern giving the keynote opening speech at Climate Week next week at the UN. She's inflicting climate change, and she's giving a speech about climate change. The woman has never had anything to do with environmental defence in her life. Trust me, I've done it for 10 years, full-time dedication, against all odds, with great cost, And this woman is inflicting climate change. She's inflicting gross environmental destruction. She's poisoning us all to death. This chemical, it restructures the water. It metabolizes into. See, I mean, honestly, my brain, it's really hard for me to talk and think, which is pretty unfortunate because that is pretty much the only thing that I do is talk and think. But anyway, it metabolizes into the fluorocitrate molecule, which kills your cells. It tortures your cells to death. It's fucking lethal. It's terrible, And it poisons everything to death. From the plants screaming in agony, which I know most people don't understand that, but that's what happens, to the animals screaming in agony with to death by torture over hours and hours and hours. It's been poisoning our livestock. Over time, this is going to bioaccumulate in the livestock and the humans and cause. They call it, in the livestock, they'll call it toxoplasmosis, in bovis, it's all the symptoms of 1080 poisoning over time. And in the humans, it'll be pneumonia, cancer, sepsis, it's heart attacks, respiratory problems. We have been chemically exterminated. They've dropped enough chemicals through our ecosystem to kill millions and millions and millions of people. It is torturing all of nature to death. It is causing the extinction of all our species. It is causing the death of our rivers, lakes and streams, the toxic algae that then perpetuate the poisoning with respiratory problems and heart problems just through breathing. The air drift that has from the toxic algae, It's the collapse of our ecosystem. It's deliberately committed by our Prime Minister and her government and state sector. Arguably, it's designed and inflicted by the Crown. This is a worldwide chemical extermination of populations, but New Zealand is the model. And the amount of toxicity now that is in our ecosystem, there were a whole lot of kids who got poisoned yesterday. So many people got poisoned last year when the 1080 had a whole lot of dead stock upstream from the water supply in Havelock North. So many livestock are being directly poisoned right now around the country. Only some of them we hear about on the media. A lot of farmers don't want that, sort of attention or trouble. A lot of farmers will just also be getting rid of their stock quietly because they know that if they tell MPI, their whole herds will be slaughtered by this bogus bovis disease that Ardern is deliberately inflicting by chemicals. And I've emailed constantly to the UN, and it's just silence, It's just unbelievable. This is systematic chemical weapons attacks. There's a stupid conference that the UN just had at the OPCW about chemical weapons attacks. Hello, we're under systematic chemical weapons attack every day. Monofluoroacetate is one of the most deadly torture poisons. All of our animals across our bush are being tortured to death, And I've been in the courts constantly, and all of the judges order to facilitate the crime. And now the new technique is to shift jurisdiction across the courts, use the registrars to get rid of it. But they accepted my appeal. But there's no point to an appeal if they've already completely torture poisoned all of the country, as they have, except for the fact that they haven't yet done Auckland, and that affects 1 million people, and mostly South Aucklanders. They're killing the poor people first. Sorry, but South Auckland is not exactly the wealthiest neighbourhood set of neighbourhoods, and that's who gets the Hanua Rangers poison first. But it is spread by the bees and the birds and the mosquitoes directly into the bloodstream of people. It's a fucking plague waiting to happen. So much sterility, so many reproductive organ cancers, erectile dysfunction, heart attacks, respiratory illness. This is just an absolute tragedy. It's mass murder. Ardern is committing mass murder. And next week she's going to be at the UN giving a speech to open climate change when she's fucking inflicting it. You can't spread masses and masses and tons of chemicals, the world's most lethal chemicals, across our ecosystem and not be inflicting climate change. And seriously, she or one of the people in her group crime are attacking me with EMF weapons, and my fucking head is getting systematically lobotomized. It's just unacceptable, It's such a terrible crime. These people are so evil. But what can I do? All I can hold on to is that the International Criminal Court are reviewing this case at the moment. And, I'm not sure the point of justice when it can't act within its capability, legislative capability, to prevent the crime, because it's acting too slowly. But, in lieu of the International Criminal Court failing to act in time to protect us from these attacks, unless something happens overnight to stop it, or unless, we actually need a country to defend us, We're under attack. This is a state of war. Everyone talks about this imaginary new chemical attack happening in Syria. New Zealand has chemical attacks happening right now. Right now, every day, we are under attack by these absolutely treacherous criminals who are in our government, state and crown, and court. That these orders have been deliberately messed around and delayed. Honestly, all of these people, I don't know how to resolve it unless another country comes to our aid, but I don't know which countries are not complicit in this crime. Because at the end of the day, there seems to be a predominant section of power who believes in depopulation and that we should all be torture poisoned to death. And they should reset the world to their new singularity and their new AI technology and their new way with far fewer humans and a new system of living. It's absolutely disgusting. And Ardern is the front of this crime. She's number one. And the irony is, and it's all about irony, she's giving speeches about climate change and saving the world, which is, just so inauthentic, but she's causing it, Well, I don't know what to say, except for the Court of Appeal have, what is the point of an appeal? What is the point of an appeal if the orders aren't granted? The whole court system's been a complete fraud. It's been a complete fraud. They have systematically ordered to continue this crime. They know they're killing you. They know it, but they order to continue it. They all deserve to be fired, honestly. But, half the country's asleep, and the rest are angry. I don't know how to stop it, honestly, except I say we need to pray. We actually need a miracle. People are so trusting of their government, they can't accept that this crime is being inflicted, but it is. When you calculate, they are spreading enough of this toxic poison that kills everything that lives, the plants, the animals, the water, everything, to kill millions and millions of people right across our natural ecosystem. They are causing climate change, you know, and with their weather technology, all of these weather events, you know, it's people are complaining that the water is chemical tasting. It's like pool water, and the snow is disintegrating. It's not melting. It's fake generated snow. It's not naturally occurring. All these superstorms, these are happening at a touch of a button. The HARP stations are doing this, you know, and I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to happen. You know, if the International Criminal Court don't rule, then I don't know. We need to remove all these people from power. I don't know how we do that. You know. Well, there's obvious ways to do it, but no one's gonna do anything. No one is. New Zealand is too peaceful. We're a peaceful group of people. So, even with great violence being inflicted upon us, no one has acted in response to try and murder any of these people who are doing this, you know. But we're being murdered. There's absolutely no doubt about that. We are being murdered right now in real time. And I'm fairly sure I can't keep sustaining these head attacks, honestly. It's lobotomizing me. My brain's barely working, but, you know, I'm still functioning. But it's the most insidious way to try and murder someone or incapacitate them. It's just fucking terrible. But there's nothing I can do to stop it. So I'm an effective prisoner in my house, and they know where I am, and I'm targeted constantly. I literally can't leave the house without a helicopter or a plane. They're right over top of me. So it's just unbelievable. So criminal. And there's no one to defend you. The police are in on it. The police are helping to kill everyone. The military are doing nothing, and arguably they're trained to manage all the people when everyone realises that they're being exterminated, and also they'll be trained probably to quarantine the entire country because we're being so toxically poisoned that people are going to start dropping dead everywhere. So anyway, I need to go and rest my brain, but that's the update. I've emailed the UN, I've emailed the ICC, you know. These orders should have been made last week. They were deliberately obstructed, and I'll tell you what, the person who obstructs them, they better hope that I lose, because if I win, wow, life imprisonment. Goodbye, life, to you. You know who you are. So anyway, that's how I feel. The system is so corrupt. There's no way that anyone in New Zealand is going to stand to protect us. They're all fucking mass murdering killers. And we are being chemically exterminated right now. It's just unbelievable, but it's happening right now. The quantities speak for themselves. The type of poison speaks for itself. They say it doesn't dilute, it metabolizes, and it restructures the entire frequency of the water to be a loaded gun. We're being killed. Okay. Can't think anymore. Anyway, that's my update. What a travesty. And, as I said, this is also with Winston Peters and Andrew Little. They are the criminals in this as well. You know, they all belong in fucking prison. It's just disgusting what they're doing. Who would mass murder their own population? Who would allow it to happen and stand in silence? You know, they all stand by Ardern, and she's the one who's heading this crime. What to do?